everyone, Ren here, and today I want to talk about being critical as a reader and as a fan of something. This is something that I really wanted to talk about for a while and something that I think is really important, and it's something that I wish I could go back and tell my younger self to do more of, because I was living in blissful ignorance that anyone ever did anything wrong back when I was 14. As some of you may know, when I was a teenager and a younger teenager, I was obsessed with Twilight, and I was very obsessed with Twilight. My life revolved around Twilight. Twilight could do no wrong. The actors, the films couldn't do any wrong. The films couldn't do any wrong. The books couldn't do anything wrong. Like, it was perfect. It was the best thing ever. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. It was the best thing ever and ever and ever and ever. I was part of the fandom, and the fandom was great. It wasn't. Everything was good, and it was the best thing ever. Until I got a bit older, when I was probably about 16, 17, did I look back and think to myself, actually, there were quite a lot of things, like even just in the book, like as a reader reading that book, there are a lot of things that I could criticise. And not in a way where I would send hate, because just as a disclaimer, I never think sending hate to anyone is okay. There is a difference between hating on someone and constructive criticism when reviewing a book or a movie that can help the person to then do better next time. Don't ever send hate. Hate is bad. So there are lots of things that when I was sort of thinking back to it, I thought, okay, this actually sort of needed to be improved upon. You know, like, it was something that I really just was completely oblivious to when I was younger, and I don't know if it was because I was so swept up in the world that I didn't think about the finer details, or if it was because I was slightly younger and just wasn't thinking about these things as much. I was pretty easygoing as a reader and a reviewer, and I didn't see the point of trying to be critical. As I've gotten older, and a big part of my entire life now revolves around reviewing books and reading books and having that critical view when reading, I've changed that perspective slightly, and now I realise it's so important to be critical and to keep an open mind when reading or when being a fan of something. I have recently reread the Harry Potter series, and I love the Harry Potter series. It's my favourite series of all time ever, and I owe it everything. There are things in it that I don't like, and rereading it and looking back on all these things, there are characters that I really disagree with. There are things that I disagree with. The thing with Harry Potter is I didn't think about it when I was reading it the first time because I was very little, but there is a significant lack of diversity within the books, I think. Like, I love Harry Potter, but I think it's good to be able to admit that it has those flaws and to report on those. And if I was ever doing a review, and in my discussion videos that I've been doing of each individual book, I do want to bring those issues to light and say, I disagree with this character and this character because of this, and I disagree with this, and it might not necessarily be what someone else disagrees with and what someone else thinks is not okay, but I'm being critical and I'm keeping an open mind and saying what I would like more from J.K. Rowling, from books that she writes and for future things. I think one thing that quite a lot of people struggle with was Cursed Child, and being critical with Cursed Child because it was a Harry Potter book and no one wanted to not like a Harry Potter book, but there was so much in Cursed Child that didn't make sense just in the world, and there was the whole issue with the queer baiting between Albus and Scorpius, and there was just so much going on that I feel like people sort of didn't want to, but it was good that people spoke up and said, actually no, like, this wasn't consistent with the rest of the story, and this didn't make sense, and this wasn't good. And I think it's important to have that discussion because it gets people talking, and then when the creators of Cursed Child decide to make something else, they might take those constructive criticism points into account and apply it to future things that they create to make those things better. I also think it's the same when it comes to real people, and I'm not going to go too much into this because I mostly just want to talk about reading, but having a celebrity or a YouTuber or someone that you really look up to, they are just human and they're going to make mistakes. I don't think we should put them on pedestals and think that they can do nothing wrong, and I've done that before. I did it with quite a lot of the members of Twilight casting. Not good, because you don't know them, you don't really know who they are, and I've done it with YouTubers who turned out to be not very nice people, but then I see some people that still support them and still support people even though they've done not very good things, and I think you do not need to follow them. It's really difficult to turn your back on someone that you've admired and followed and looked up to for a really, really long time, but just because you are a fan of them does not mean you need to support them through things that they do. You really do not. If someone does something you disagree with, you can say you disagree with it. You do not have to support them. Obviously that's the more serious side of things, and that's when you sort of should probably think about who you're supporting and why, and that we shouldn't do that. I mostly just want to talk about like reviewing things and that kind of thing. You don't have to like every single song your favourite artist release, every single album they release, or every single book your favourite author releases. There are going to be things you're not going to like, and even if it is something as just someone released a new album and you didn't like a couple of songs on it, that's absolutely fine, because it's just personal taste and you're not going to like everything, and you don't have to like everything. I love Ed Sheeran, but there are songs of his that I will skip because they're just not for me. Same with Imogen Heap and the 1975, who are some of my favourite artists ever, and I will skip some of their songs because they're just not for me. It doesn't mean you like something less, it doesn't mean you're any less of a fan. Me disagreeing with some issues in Cursed Child does not mean I'm any less of a Harry Potter fan or I'm any less of a fan of J.K. Rowling. It just means that there was something in it that I thought could have been improved upon or could have been changed, and I think that being critical with something as well is actually what sets you apart from other people, and that's why when you watch book reviews they are different, because I might criticise something and think, oh, I would have liked to have seen more of this character or more of this particular representation, and then another book reviewer might say, actually, I thought there was enough of this representation and I'd like to see a different type of representation that I didn't feel like was in it enough. That way you get a really wide like variety of reviews and discussions, and it means that you can find something that you also thought and related to and talk about it, and that's why we create these discussions. When I used to write fan fiction, I used to specifically ask for constructive criticism at the end of every chapter that I would write. I was 15 years old and I was not the perfect writer. I'm still not the perfect writer. I'm writing a book at the moment. I've mentioned my book a couple of times. I'm writing the book. The book is difficult. The book challenges me so much. I had a FaceTime conversation with my friend and I was sending her snippets from the book, and I was sending her chapters from the book, saying, can you read this and can you be honest? I don't want some, that's really good, yay, you're a top author. I want constructive criticism. I want you to read this and tell me what I could do better, what I could change. Is this plotline really obvious when I'm trying to keep it a secret? Do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do this? And she came back with some really, really, really good points that really helped me to then improve when I'm going back and making notes on things I want to change when I'm doing the second draft and the third draft and the fourth draft and eventually the final draft that will probably never see the light of day, but there we go. It's really important. If she just came back to me and said, that's perfect, I might not have changed anything, and then it would have been this really badly written and not very well executed story, which is something I don't want. Obviously, when we all read books, we are all going to pick up on different things. I will pick up on something in one book and think I would like to see that done slightly differently. Authors don't want hate, obviously, and we should never send people hate. Like I said, I don't advocate it. I don't think it's a thing that should happen. But if you do a video review or a blog post review, just a couple of things that you think could be improved on. Maybe it's story building or world building or the dialogue or the plot. Just things that you think in future novels from that person you might like to see and that you might like to see more of. I also think it's the same if people say things. If people say something and they might not be particularly educated on a topic, rather than being really rude to them and giving them hate, just educate them. Just carefully, say to them, actually no, it's this and it's this, and this is what we say and this is what we do, and why you shouldn't say what you said initially, and just educate them calmly and nicely and constructively so that they can learn and be educated and realize, actually no, okay, next time I need to not do this or not do this and change this. And I think it's just good to have that, rather than just blindly following someone and just saying that was perfect, because nothing ever really is, and everyone is going to make mistakes. So yeah, I think it is important to educate and be critical, and when we're reading, think, what could this book do? Like, does this book need representation? Does it need more of this or more of this? And actually kind of speak about that and put that in our reviews and talk about it in our reviews, rather than just being like, this book was amazing, I loved it, cool. When I was first starting to review books, that was kind of what I did. But I always try and find that one thing that I could be critical of, not to be annoying, but to think of something that, I can improve upon. And with Six of Crows, which is like one of the best books I've ever read, like 5 out of 5 stars, it was things like the world building. I wish there'd been a little bit more world building. And just that little thing which could then help improve later on for not even the author of the book, but other people that read it and think, okay, I should probably include world building if that's something that people are talking about and they want to have world building. Maybe I should include that in my book. I recently started watching a new show, episode 4 just aired. People, including myself, did not agree with something that happened in the particular episode, and we didn't think that it was very good. And I was so happy to see that there were so many people on Tumblr and on the internet saying that wasn't cool, like we can't defend the characters for doing that particular thing, like that was a really shitty thing to do, we need to, you know, like that's not cool, we can't support that character, you know, because of what they've done. I liked that. I liked seeing that people were not just jumping straight on and being like, but I love him, so it's fine. And actually there were probably about 90% of people understanding that what had happened in this episode was wrong and why it was wrong. And it was really good to see that people were having that open mind, and just because it was their favourite character, he had actually done something that was questionable. Another character had gone along with it when he didn't have to, and it was just really nice to see that people were saying, I didn't like that, that wasn't cool, like reassess yourself. Same with me and the casual vacancy. I love JK Rowling, she is my queen. The casual vacancy was not. I didn't like that book. It just wasn't for me. Someone else might have read it and loved it, and absolutely loved it, and I'm glad, and I'm really glad that if someone can get enjoyment out of it, then they did. But just for me, it was not my kind of thing. I just wasn't a fan of it. That's fine. It doesn't mean I hate JK Rowling. It just means that one book out of the lots that she's written didn't particularly agree with me. I feel like, you know, if I'd read The Casual Vacancy when I was a bit younger, I probably would have been confused at the content, but no, I think I would have been like, it's amazing because it's JK Rowling, when actually, like, no, and not for me, and I wouldn't have liked it, and I would have been pretending to have liked something that I didn't actually like, and I just feel like that's not fun. You don't get full enjoyment out of something if you're just constantly pretending to like something and you constantly think something's perfect. I think having that critical and open mindset actually really helps your enjoyment of something, because the parts of it that you really, really enjoy, you enjoy and you love and are so good, because we don't have to always enjoy something all the time, and we can be critical as long as we're not sending authors horrible hate and saying your book was shit, you're shit, whatever, lol, like, because hate's just pointless. Why would you even do it? But, you know, constructive criticism in reviews and discussions and talking about things and sort of just opening more people's minds to things that they might not have picked up on before, I think that's really important, and I think that we should be critical as readers and as fans. Does this video make sense? I hope it did. I hope that I have actually been some form of coherent and not just rambly mess. Let me know down in the comments. If you are new here, I make bookish videos a couple of times a week, so if you would like to stick around and join us, then you can do that. As usual, all of my links will be in the description below, so if you'd like to come hang out with me on other social medias, then you can do that as well. I'd love to know your thoughts on this discussion, so let's discuss in the comments or on the other social medias if you want to tweet me or let's talk. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're doing really, really, really well, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.